Welcome to April 2024 community call. And my name is Mingjia. I'm a product manager from Office Platform team. So thank you for joining today, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on our time zone. So today we have three different topics to cover. And first, we are going to talk about the design best practice for Office add-ins. And we'll also cover updates on add-in authentication and access to Exchange APIs. And another topic we have today is implementing an integrated spam reporting add-in for Outlook. So we have several topics in the agenda. So the folks that are going to present today will be Skylar, who is a product manager, and Ben Siler, who is a senior product manager, and also Eric Legault, who is Microsoft most valuable professional. So let's get started. And so the first topic we are going to have is designing the design best practice for Office add-ins. So Skylar, would you like to take the control?
Sure. Let me take control. Mingjia, did I do that successfully?
Yes, I think you can take the control now.
Cool. I'm not sure whether okay, cool. I got it.
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to meet you guys here virtually. Today, my topic will be there's some tips and best practice for while you're designing Word, Excel, and PowerPoint add-ins. And yeah, the first tip is name your add-in effectively. As we all know that when end users, especially when they see an add-in list, they will only have a 8-second attention span for each users, whether they choose to try one or they just skip. And the skip rate is very high. So to avoid that and let your very valuable add-ins have enough visibility to all end users, we highly suggest you to name your add-ins directly and memorable. If you are not a big name or well-known organizations, it's better to include your add-ins functionality in the names, like grammar check or citation things, so that people, when they see the name of the add-in, they can quickly get what the functionality is and how it can help their job to be done, finished. And then the second tip is to okay, I'm not sure. Okay, next slide. Okay, yeah. And the next slide is to provide a detailed description, but as short as you can. As you may know that when people browse the store or the flyout of the third-party add-in, they can only see the first 2 lines at the first glance. So it will be very effectively if you can keep your description under 2 lines. So to make sure to include the value and benefit of your add-in offers, so that it can help to mention the specific task user can accomplish with your solutions, because users may not have that patience to know to click each add-ins and know all the details, read through that. They can only have a glance of the add-in descriptions and know whether it is helpful or not, something like that. So keep your descriptions precise and short is very important. And next, the third one is that the UI, to design your UI to integrate with Office, is also very important. As we can see from many best practice add-ins which have high usage in WXP, they all have a fluent UI to make sure the add-ins are consistent, have a consistent design with the whole Office style. So we can consider it is better that you can consider using Fluent UI as your design language and toolset, which is more standard and easy to communicate with end users. So I attached several links that you can refer to know like what is the what are the Fluent UIs and how to use that while you design your components. And I will attach the links to the chat just in case you need that while designing the add-ins, because a beautiful UI and user-friendly UI is always like make the user feel smooth and can get the add-ins values properly while they experience the actual functionalities. Next slide. And also design for all platforms and input method. Be sure you test all of your add-ins for accessibilities so that your add-ins features can be used by assisted technologies. As we all know, the accessibilities capability in Office and Microsoft is very powerful, and lots of people who may need these features likes a lot. So please make sure you design it for all platform and pass the accessibility things. And next slide. And also there's a very important point is to like onboarding your end users. After the users want to try your add-ins at the first site, they will experience FRE, we call it like a first run experience. This is like very critical to end users because the first run experience is how the users firstly know your add-ins, get the values, and experience all the functionality you want to deliver. So a very smooth or step-by-step FRE can provide the capability in a very smooth way. And another important thing is that please do not let the users to register or sign up first, because they will like hugely decrease their intentions to try the functionalities. And please better let them to use several basic functionalities first, and then to let the users register or sign up. It will help them to build the mental models and mindset after experience all the fancy stuff you want to try, instead of, hey, please register, please provide your email address. This is also the patterns we see, like how these like best practiced add-ins do. They will like allow user to experience as much free functionality as they can after that, to register before the users quit. Yeah. And the last one is about business models. Business models is like very interesting things, because all of the developers they all wants to like build their business through the add-ins ecosystem. And among all the interviews we did with these best practices add-ins, which has like high usage, and they even have some pay features inside there, we find that freemium is a very good pricing strategy, where a basic version of a product or service is offered for free. So this can allow lots of like end users to get to know your add-ins, while the advanced features are available for a fee. So in addition to the basic functionalities, all this advanced or attractive features can be can be have like a freemium model. So the users can subscribe these functionalities, and also the developers can finish their monetizations models in this way. So offering a free version allows them to test the product before purchasing it, and also it's the best way to let users experience how your add-ins can help them to finish their work. So users, after they get familiar with the product, they are more likely to upgrade the premium version, and then improve the stickiness of the product. Yeah, I think that's all the tips we try to deliver at this moment, this is just like the best practice we monitors, and in the continuous community core series, we will introduce more tips that can help all the developers being success in our ecosystem. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Mingjia.
Right. Great. Thanks, Skylar. And let's move on to the next one. So next topic would be updates on Addin authentication and access to Exchange APIs. So Ben, I think you can take the control.
All right, so you all should see that coming through soon. I'm looking at a black screen, so I'm hoping that you all can see.
You. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't see my own slides, so I'm going to stop sharing and restart. Sorry all for the delay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try one more time. Okay, now I see my slides. Hopefully everybody else sees my slides.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the right slide, but we'll go to the right slide. All right, so my name is Ben Siler. As mentioned earlier, I'm a product manager working on Outlook extensibility within our team here in Microsoft. So I want to talk a little bit about updates that we have for add-in authentication, and also some updates that we have about legacy exchange tokens that are issued by Exchange going away. So this will be probably more applicable to those of you who are making Outlook add-ins, at least in the very short term. But the overall message of Nested App Op, which is the thing that we've just released, will be valuable across the whole add-in ecosystem. So let's talk a little bit about some of the issues that we had previously with add-in authentication. Number one, IDPs or identity providers, they really like to talk directly to users to authenticate them. A lot of IDPs, they want to render their own HTML so the user can enter authentication factors. And if that's not possible, they want you as an application to send the user somewhere where the user can interact.
Sorry to interrupt, Ben.
Yes.
I think you are not on the right slide. We are all seeing the community call, like the cover page.
Okay, I'll stop sharing
I'm seeing
method. Are you seeing slide 13?
Yeah, I'm seeing slide 13.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing and just do like screen share instead, and hope that works better, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, all. Sorry, I just got completely dropped from the Teams call. Mingjia, I think some other folks may have been dropped too, because it looks like we lost some attendance. Do you want me to just continue on?
I think I can share it for you.
Yeah, if you don't mind sharing the deck, I can tell you when to click, and we'll try that, and hopefully I can stay on the call.
Yes, let me share it for you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, perfect. All right, sorry about that, everyone, but we were talking about IDPs want to talk directly to users. They want to render their own HTML, and like as a hosted application, that is hard for you to do. Kind of a similar problem is it's very hard in our current PaaS solution to gather consent from users, which is important because as we move into a more threatening landscape, it's very important that admins and users are both able to say, yeah, I approve that this app can access certain resources on my behalf, but not this app. Last thing is you want to make sure that you're doing as little as possible to like roll your own auth. Every add-in has to authenticate. It's the price of doing business, but the authentication process is rarely what makes your add-in special. And so as much as possible, we want to take that burden away from you and make authentication really easy so that you don't have to spend your effort on this area, and instead you can spend your effort on the things that make your add-in different and unique. The last thing that is hard in the add-in space is because add-ins run locally for the user, they can't keep a secret. And in identity terms, that means like they can't maintain some string that like is hidden from the user, since the user can crack it open and see everything inside. So that means that we can't really ever be certain that this is a real add-in and not somebody imitating you. Yeah, next slide is great. All right, so that's why we're announcing nested app authentication, or NAA, which is what I'll call it for the rest of the slide. And that is just simpler for you as a developer. It's better for users, and it's safer for admins. So some of the highlights from a dev experience support is you get all of the beauty of msal.js, which is the library that our friends in Microsoft Identity produce for authentication. You get really robust support for that, but specified for add-ins. Another great thing is, in the past, as we mentioned, because add-ins can't keep a secret, it makes a lot of sense to treat them as single-page apps for many add-ins. And that was difficult to do in the past. You need to maintain some sort of middle tier. But now you can use the standard OAuth SPA grants, which will make things a lot easier, because architecturally you no longer have to worry about the middle tier. You no longer have to worry about token exchanges. And you get an access token, so you can start accessing resources on that very first authentication call instead of having to do a bunch of work on your side. For the users, there's some advantages here too. The consent flow is built in, so that's a nice thing for both the user and the developer. We've got broader support with mobile platforms, and we're going to be able to create a more standard authentication pattern across Microsoft apps, so things will be a little more familiar for them. For the customer admins, everything is safer, and this isn't really different than what you get currently if you use OBO, because this all relies on the power of Entra ID, but you're getting this really great top-tier identity protection from Entra ID by adopting this flow if you're on one of the older authentication methods. All right, let's go to the next one. Perfect. And we're going to have David Chestnut, who is our content hero and customer advocate hero, do a quick demo of NAA that he has prepared.
Cool. Thank you, Ben. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So hopefully this is coming through. Okay, so I'm going to demo how you can enable NAA to use SSO in your Office add-in. I'm going to start in the Azure portal with creating an app registration. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new registration and give this a name. I'm going to go ahead and select all the account types for this one, keep it easy. And I'm going to set this up. This is kind of the key part. I'm going to set up a redirect URI, and you're going to want to use this particular redirect URI. So let me copy this in. And what this is doing is it's associating the add-in with NAA to say, hey, I want to take advantage of the trusted brokers that are kind of in the architecture of NAA that make it work. We don't have to get into the details of that. It's just, this is basically saying, hey, I want to use NAA, and here's where my add-in is at. In my case, it's on localhost 3000. So I'll go ahead and register that. And it'll go ahead and create the application. And then I'm just going to need this application ID that got generated. And now this will take care of authentication and authorization with Microsoft Identity for my add-in. And if anyone out there has worked with the on behalf of flow, I wanted to point out this is a lot simpler, because this is all you do. You don't have to go create a secret for your middle tier. You don't have to go pick all your API permissions, and there's a bunch of settings you have to set in here. This is all you have to do. So let's go to the sample. This is one of the samples that we published to the samples repo. First thing I want to show is you want to be sure you're pulling in the MSAL browser library. That's our MSAL library for running in a browser. and you want version 3.11 or later. And then I'm going to walk through just the MSAL code here. So we're going to import this public client next from that library. Here's where we set our application ID. So I'm going to update this with this new one I just generated. And then we're going to create an MSAL config. These are kind of your typical things you set up. You need your client ID, an authority. Here's another key piece. You want to set supports nested app auth to true. When you do that, you're saying, hey, I want to use NAA. And that's how MSAL will know that's what you want to do. And then to kind of simplify in the sample, we have this class, this account manager class, that just kind of puts everything into one spot that you can access it from other code sections in the project. There's an initialization step where we call the MSAL create public client application with the MSAL config from previously. And we store this PCA variable here in the class. So we, once we have an instance, we just hang on to that. There's two methods that we expose from this class. One is just to get an access token, and the other one's to get the user identity. I know that some developers out there, they're not necessarily calling Microsoft Graph. They're like, hey, I just want to know the email for this person or their name or something, in which case you could call get user identity and it will return the entire user account from MSAL. If you just want the access token, this function up here, get token, just strips off the access token part of the account and sends that back. So that's handy for making your graph calls. So let's take a look at the pattern. This is the pattern you want to use when you get a token or the user account. You're going to want scopes, minimum scope specified for what you're going to be doing. We expect the caller to pass that to us. And the first thing is we want to try to get the token silently. This is ideal if we could do that because we don't pop up a dialog and interrupt the user. So we just keep things silent, and ideally that works if they've already signed in and consented and everything. If that works, we return the user account. If it doesn't work, say we don't have consent, for example. So now we need to pop up a dialog. So we're going to call acquire token pop-up with the same token request. And at that point, it'll say, hey, do you consent to this particular scope that we need? And if they do, we return the user account. And then if that fails, we fall through and just throw an error, log it out and throw it. And that could happen if the user declined, like say they didn't consent or something. So go and save that change I made, and then let's go to the task pane itself. The task pane will have two buttons I'm going to show in just a second. But important pieces, we want to make sure we initialize our account manager. So that goes and creates that public client application. One of our buttons will just get the user data, just the name and password. So we're going to call SSO get user identity. You notice we pass a scope of user.read, and that's the only scope we need to get that. So we keep it minimal. We'll get back the name and a preferred username, which in this case will be the user's email, and we will put those out on the task pane by setting the HTML elements. And then we can also get the user files. This is a Microsoft Graph call. So in this case, we call get file names if the user clicks this button, and we default to getting the first 10 file names. So in this case, we'll call SSO get token, and you notice we have files.read scope. So this would be an incremental consent, which I'm going to show in just a second. So, and then we go and we make our graph call to get the OneDrive, select the top 10 files, return those back, and then we go to write those into the spreadsheet. So now I will go ahead and just run this in the debugger. And one thing to notice, if you've done the on behalf of Flow, is like there's no middle tier server. This is all single page application. So I don't have to go call get access token, send that token to my middle tier server API, have it exchange it for a graph token, make the call, and then return the data back to the client in the browser. This is just way simpler to deal with. And it's all built into MSAL. There's no Office.js APIs you need to be calling here. So give it one more sec here to start up. Sometimes it's a little slow. There we go. It's almost there. Let's clear these out of the way. Still booting up the server there. I like to have this debug console running so you can kind of see what's going on. Okay, there we go. That took a while. So I have these two buttons. First, I'm going to get the user data. And you'll notice it's trying to acquire the token silently in my log over here. And then it pops up and says, okay, which we need permissions for these things. I need to sign you in, maintain access data you have. This is basically the user.read. Now, since I am an admin on this dev tenant, I could consent on behalf of the organization, but I'm just gonna accept for me. So hit accept. Then it should do its magic with the NAA. And you see it comes back with my name, my email. So that's cool. So now I'm going to call get user files. And it tries to acquire token silently, but you see it falls through. It has to go interactive because it doesn't have consent yet. Now it has read your files on that list. So I'll go ahead and accept that. And then once you've consented, this will all happen silently for future requests. So there's my top 10 files. I'm going to go and just show you what happens. I'm going to get them again. And now you see like it doesn't need to do pop-ups now because I have the consent. It just works. So that is pretty much it. That's NAA. So I hope this is helpful to folks. I'd encourage you to definitely go try out the sample, give us feedback. Remember, this is still in preview, so there could still be bugs lurking out there. Let us know if you find any. And I guess I'll turn it back over to Ben.
Thanks, David. Yeah, great demo. All right, so now we will move on to the second part of this discussion, which is about the deprecation of legacy exchange tokens. So in our current world, we have noticed, Microsoft is a very big provider of email data. We have noticed that nation state attackers are very, very interested in this data. And that makes a lot of sense because if you want to know what an office worker knows, one of the easiest ways to do that is to go diving in their email, which gives you access to a bunch of information that they're sharing with others, that others are sharing with them. It seems to be incredibly attractive, and attacks on this email data are really ramping up. So we have announced something called the Secure Future Initiative, which our leadership has promised means doing business extremely different than normal so that we can make sure that we protect this customer data. And one of the main pillars of the Secure Future Initiative, there are three, but the one that concerns us today is identity protection. We need to take really good care of making sure that attackers cannot impersonate our users and get access to this valuable email data. So our overall plan here is we are going to work together with you all to make that happen. Part of that is that now we are entering the public preview of NAA, as David mentioned. This is now the best way to authenticate for the Addins that need it. And in October of 2024, legacy exchange tokens are going off in default in all of the exchange tenants. So if you are relying on legacy exchange tokens, and we'll cover a little bit later exactly what those are, but those are the exchange callback token as well as the exchange identity token. The best time to start thinking about how you're going to migrate to a newer set of tokens is now. And we would like to ask everyone to take a quick look at their add-ins, make sure that they are not using these legacy tokens. And if you are using these legacy tokens, it's a great idea to start doing a proof of concept with NAA, thinking about how big of a work item that is to pick up NAA and moving forward to that, because then you'll get all of the benefits of NAA that we've talked about, as well as avoiding these legacy tokens that are no longer good enough to protect our customer info given the threat that we're facing. All right, let's go to the next one. So this is an overall, like, just very general path of what we're suggesting here. As a first step, it's really great to evaluate your add-ins for legacy tokens. Some of you may just know offhand if you're using them or not, but if you don't know, you can take a quick look at your code to see if you're hitting any of the affected endpoints to make sure that you're not using those. So if your add-in is affected, if you are using these legacy exchange tokens, as we said, it's a really great idea to start making that plan now. NA is in preview, but it's great to do a proof of concept and start looking at it so that you have an idea of like how big of a chunk of work that is and get familiar with how you can integrate that into your app. So beginning now, April 2024, we recommend experimenting and planning with NAA. Checking your tokens or checking your add-ins as quickly as possible for the legacy tokens, and then thinking about how to update your add-ins using the legacy tokens in the coming months. And then for those of you who are not on these tokens, NAA is still going to be your best way to do authentication going forward. So we definitely recommend, still picking it up, but the timeline for you all is a little less tight. All right, next slide. So this goes into a little more detail. Right now, probably the most important thing to do is to figure out, is your add-in affected by this change, and is your add-in using these legacy exchange tokens? The easiest way to do this is to look in your add-in code for places where you're calling any of these three endpoints that are on the bottom left there. And we can share these out in the chat as well. They're also in the documents that I'm going to share, but I would recommend taking a look for those. And then, as we've discussed, moving forward, like if you can build a proof of concept on NAA in preview, that'll put you in a really good position when it is GA to be able to adopt and put it into your add-in and be ready for this change. All right, so I suspect there's a bunch of questions. These documents will help you answer the questions. I will also help you answer the questions currently in the chat right now. But this is going to be a nice treasure trove of resources that's going to help you out. And then if you start looking through these resources, you start that proof of concept and you're finding issues, as David mentioned, we would love to hear about it. Please reach out to us on GitHub. And if you put NAA into your issue title, that'll be super helpful for us to find that and make sure that you get the attention you need. Even if you forget, we will still find it and give you attention, but that'll make things a little quicker for all of us. So I'll share these again, and we will continue to work with you all to make this happen. If you have questions, if you have comments, we are here to hear them. But these documents will help you with all of the technical details that you need to make this happen, as well as David's great samples. All right, thanks. And I'm super excited for this next one, for the spam reporting add-in demo as well.
Good day, everybody. I will share my screen here in a second. So my name is Eric Legault. I'm your friendly neighborhood MVP for Microsoft 365 development. And today we're going to be talking about how to implement an integrated spam reporting add-in for Outlook. And together, we will banish spam from the realm. Yeah, so we won't need a magic hammer to banish spam, but we can use this integrated add-in because it is really simple to do. The first thing I would recommend is looking at the article that's associated with what I'm going to be showing today on how to implement an integrated spam reporting add-in. This article will show you how to configure your environment and the manifest and how to implement the event handler. Most importantly, it has some information on the supported platforms, so keep an eye on this section here, which will show you all the associated version numbers for the various Office or Outlook hosts. And if you need to get access to this, you need to be on the beta channel. So if you want to join the Microsoft 365 Insider Program and all that business, that would help you get started. I have some links to the necessary and related resources that you can look up to get started on this, including the link to the article. I will also paste this into the chat later and show this slide later, but feel free to take a screenshot of this now. The code sample is on the Office Dev repo in GitHub, and there's the link to the Microsoft 365 Insider Program. I also have a related video in my YouTube channel, so please subscribe and like. And I'm also on Twitch as OG Nerd Rocker. I'm just going with the crowd here with the usernames that are being used on Twitch. I've done some live demos on M365 development in the past, one on the spam reporting add-in, and I hope to do that in the future and keep doing that on a weekly basis. So let's go over to Outlook and take a look at this. You'll notice that the button is way over here on the left-hand side. So you're probably wondering, how did that button get all the way over there? My button is usually, for your add-ins, your button is usually on the far right-hand side or perhaps stuck in the overflow menu. But with this integrated solution, your add-in button becomes a higher priority. It's more prominently displayed on the ribbon. That way your users can easily discover it, and they're more likely to report, spam. This is also going to enable your operations team or your IT administrators to easily perform spam and phishing simulations for educational purposes. And it's a win-win for both users and your support staff, and people can get going pretty quickly on this. Let's just show an example of clicking the button here. Now you'll see the dialog that pops up. This is a dialog that you do not have to design. The UI is baked in. It's like a pizza that you buy that's ready to cook. You just put it in the oven. This dialog is available for you to customize through the manifest. All the text that you see on the screen, including the dialog title and some of the description text, is all available for customization in the manifest. You can even specify the multiple choice stuff and so forth. So it's very straightforward to do that, and I'll jump into VS Code in a second to show you how this is done. So I'm simply going to go ahead and click the report button, and that's going to fire the event handler that the add-in is hooked into and file away that message, show up the dialog, the post-processing dialog, and that message is then moved to the junk email folder. So it's pretty much that simple. There's not much more else to it, but you get the benefit of the ribbon button being prominently displayed in the ribbon, and you get a dialog that you don't have to design, but you can change the elements for it in the manifest. So let's go over to Visual Studio Code, take a look at what is implemented inside the solution, and it's really only 3 files: the HTML file, the JavaScript file, and the manifest. So for the HTML file, this isn't a task pane. If you wanted to implement a task pane, that's a separate thing entirely, but there is an associated HTML file that has to load the JavaScript file. So that's all you need for this HTML file. There's no actual UI in it. Right. But the real heart of it is inside the manifest. And this is where you need to specify the source location for that HTML file. And more importantly, the runtimes block is where most of the magic happens. You have the resource IDs for the JavaScript runtime URL and the WebView runtime URL. But the heart of this is in the extension point node, where you have the report phishing command surface XSI type, which describes that we need that button to appear in the ribbon. And this is where we have all the other resource IDs for the icons and the descriptions that you sign at dialog, which can be customized in this manifest as well. The other part to it is the resources and the URLs and the short strings, which basically allow you to customize everything that you want. Also, very important, of course, is the action that you need to define here, which is of the type execute function, which allows you to specify the function name for the event handler that's going to be processing the email. So let's go over to the JavaScript file. The first thing I want to show you is at the bottom, where we have the office.actions associate method that you have to set up to point towards the name of that function name that's defined in the manifest and the built-in function name that's inside this JavaScript file. So once the button is clicked in the post-processing dialog, it's going to run this function, the onSpam report function. And here's where you can get access to the getAsFile async method. Now, and this is for Outlook for Windows currently only right now. And you would have to set up a registry entry to enable usage of that function. There's some information on how to do that in that article. But basically what happens with this getAsFile async method is you have access to the base64 encoded EML format of the email. So not only can you get at it, you can send it to like a backend system for additional processing, or you do something else with it. You also have access to the spam reporting event and the reported options that were in the dialog, what the user selected in the dialog, for example. And you have the ability to move the item that's being reported to any folder that you want. Traditionally, you're probably going to want to use the junk folder method. And when the post-processing dialog fires up, you can define the title and the description here. So that's pretty much all there is to it. It's that simple. And feel free to take a look at the source material. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. But remember, so thanks again for your time, everybody. Hope you have a good day, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, it's back to me. So thanks, Eric. That's very interesting sharing. And so back to our Q&A session. So these are the questions we collected from the forums of the community call pages, and they are submitted before the community call. So here are some answers to the questions, and I'll go one by one. So the first question is that I would like to hear your views on how to best protect the source code for an Office add-in. And the answer to this is obfuscation and putting code on server side are pretty much the fundamental ways to keep your code private. Since Office add-ins are basically web applications, they are subject to same code protection strategies as any web applications. And the next question is that, is it a good, relevant, smart idea to deploy an Office add-in as an ASPARE application using Blazor? And the answer to this is we don't have any specific guidance around using .NET ASPARE with Blazor or Office add-ins. Office add-ins are basically web applications. So if a framework is designed to work with applications, web applications, in general, it should work for Office add-ins. And the next question is about deployment of add-ins to external users. So to deploy your Office add-ins to external users, you can have several methods to deploy. And here's the link you can check to see more details of these methods. And the next question is that I would like to ask a question about Word add-in. We are developing an add-in for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint online and desktop versions. We have the test-paying add-in working fine, but we wanted to activate our add-in on events such as Save if it is on new Outlook desktop version. So the answer to this is thank you very much for your request here, but we currently don't have such events for Word document save operations. We will keep you informed when we have update on this. And you can also submit a request and describe your detailed use case through this link here. And the next question is that our Outlook add-in is using an event-based activation. Those events are not critical. Therefore, we use an unrestricted listing in AppSource. but we like to show the information inside task pane if the add-in has been installed directly from app source by any user, so it's clear that the event-based features of our add-ins won't work. Is there a way in Office.js to detect whether the event-based activation is available or the add-in has been installed directly from app source by the user? And the answer to this question is currently within Office.js, there isn't a direct method to determine whether event-based activation is supported or if the add-in was installed directly with app source by an end user. Additionally, our messaging to users on Office clients does not reflect the installation source of the add-in. Our team exploring potential workarounds for this situation. We will keep you informed with updates once we have thoroughly tested all proposed solutions. Your patience is greatly appreciated. And the next question is that does Microsoft have any plans to add compose mode support for Outlook mobile and on-send event support to show a custom dialog and modify the Addins subject body and internet headers? And the answer to this is that currently we don't have such support for Outlook mobile, and we will keep you informed when we have update on this. Okay, so if you're new to Office Addin, you can check all those links to our documentation, quick start, script lab samples, and developer programs, and also the Office scripts. So these are all the resources that you can find more details about the capabilities and the features we have to build your solution with Office Addins. And if you want to engage more with the teams, here are also some great resources to go. So if you have some technical questions about Office Addins, you can check these two links, the Stack Overflow or the technical community. And also if you have product box or feature request and new ideas, you can check these two links from GitHub and also the M365 development to send your issues and your ideas here. And here are the other community calls across the Microsoft 365 community. So you can feel free to check these links and see the difference between the different community calls and see if there is any beneficial links that you can find resources here. So that is all the content for this community call today. And the recording of the community call will be available on this YouTube channel link in a couple of days. And you can also follow us on Twitter. And next call will be May 8th at 7 a.m. Pacific time. And you can see the agenda here before the community call. And also if you have some questions, you can submit your questions before community call here so that we can take a look and cover that in the next community call. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining and have a nice rest of the day.